The Constitution of Nepal has explicitly acknowledged the fundamental right of every citizen to live in a clean and healthy environment, and also ensuring access to safe water supply and sanitation facilities. These commitments necessitates or entails the establishment of regulatory framework. So, in this context, water supply and sanitation legal journey starts as back far as 1966. At that time, Water Tax Act 1966 was enacted to establish regulatory measures for the functioning of water tariff collection process. And the revenue collected at that time was used for development and maintenance of water supply and water-related infrastructures. Then in 1989, Nepal Water Supply Corporation Act was enacted, and that was meant just for the city areas. Then in 1992, Parliament passed Water Resources Act 1992 to make legal arrangements for the rationalization of for the rational utilization, conservation, management, and development of water resources, and keeping water resources free from pollution. Under this Act, Drinking Water Regulation 1998 was formulated, but this rule hardly received any serious attention due to various reasons. The primary purpose of these rules, or that regulation, Drinking Water Rule 1998, was to ensure safe and efficient supply of water to the public. Then in 2006, to establish and operate Water Supply Management Board in making proper and effective provisions in order to provide reliable and safely managed water services to the residents of municipality areas, Water Supply Management Board Act 2006 was enacted. And in the same year, Water Fixation Act 2006 was also enacted with the aim of establishing a commission to regulate and fix the water supply tariffs. That Water Supply Tariff Fixation Commission Act 2006 was repealed by the recent enacted Act of Nepal Water Supply and Sanitation 2022. Then just this day, 7th of September last year, Water Supply and Sanitation Act was authenticated by the then Right Honorable President. Today, this day, I mean to say. So this Act, Water Supply and Sanitation Act 2022, was to improve the governance and strengthen water supply and sanitation sector to fulfill the constitutional rights. In that Act, what is stated in the preamble is basically the aims of the Act. It states the aims the first is to ensure compliance to constitutional requirements of citizens' fundamental right to clean water supply and sanitation. And the second is to ensure accountability, reliability, and professional management of water and sanitation utility services and sustainable operations. And the third, effective management of service runoff and wastewater. And the last one is the strengthen waste governance in federalization, taking services closer to citizens. These are the points stated in the preamble of the Act. And the major provisions cited in the Water Supply and Sanitation Act are every Nepalese citizen has the right to get regular, sufficient and safe water and sanitation. Three tiers of the government of Nepal, provincial governments, there are 7 provinces in the country, provincial governments and the local governments. There are 753 local governments in Nepal. Have the shared responsibility of delivering water supply and sanitation services. The responsibility and accountability of each of the government depends upon the magnitude, nature and complexity of the water supply and sanitation system, which is well defined in the proposed regulation. And there is a provision in the Act of obtaining licensing to survey, construction, operation and management activities. And the licensing entity or licensing authority is defined in the drafted regulations. And the government may operate the services or ask to operate the system through other organizational institutes. It is provision in the Act. And to determine the tariff to be provided by the consumers, there is a provision of formation of water supply and sanitation service tariff fixation commission. And also, there are a number of factors, 4 or 5 factors to be considered, to be taken into account while finalizing the tariff. Those are cost of operating services, change in the consumer price index, the government policy, whether to go for the cost recovery or to provide subsidy, etc., foreign exchange cost, and also socio-economic condition of the community or the settlement is to be considered. And the government has already approved Nepal drinking water quality standard last year in 2022. And the government of provinces or the local governments shall determine essential drinking water quality and standard as per the prescribed, but not lower than the prescribed by the government of Nepal or the federal government. It is well provisioned in the Act. And also there is a provision that anyone violating this Act can be considered as an offense and can be punished with a fine of 100,000 Nepalese rupees or imprisonment of 1 year or both. And there is also a provision of a licensee or service provider must provide compensation to the consumers if it is proven that drinking water is not provided as per the standard set by the government or cited in the licensing document, or the adverse impact on consumers' health is observed after drinking that water. And there is also a provision of coordination committee chaired by the Honorable Minister of Water Supply, and other members include 7 provincial ministers related to water supply and sanitation, and 7 representatives from the municipality representing each province, and 4 female representatives, and it consists of around 20 members. And the basic task or the TOR of this committee is to suggest in policy formulations and its implementation, as well as to maintain interdepartmental coordination. And there is also a provision related to digitalization of integrated WAS information. This WAS policy has been just approved by the cabinet, I think, on 25th of last month. Just 2 weeks back, it has been approved by the cabinet. And Drinking Water Quality Standard 2022 is also there, approved by the cabinet. And Drinking Water Quality Standard Implementation and Monitoring Directives is also there, approved by the Ministry of Water Supply. And also Domestic Wastewater Effluent Standard is also there, recently approved by the cabinet. And as said earlier also, we are in the advanced stage of finalizing or approving this water supply and sanitation regulation. It has been sent to the Ministry of Finance for its review and objection. Once we receive it from the Ministry of Finance, it will go to Ministry of Law and Justice for its feedback. Then after that, it will go to the cabinet. And we are hopeful that within November, it will get approved by the cabinet. The proposed regulation includes a typology of 4 regulating functions relevant to WAS services. The first one is tariff setting. The second, licensing of service provision. As an indication of round-the-clock service, I mean, without any interruption, the policy, which was approved by the cabinet 2 weeks back, has 7 policies and 25 strategies as an indication of 24/7 service. And the goal of the policy is to have universal access to safe drinking water and sanitation services by the next 20 years. And this policy basically covers the area of service. The first one, the service accessibility, and the second about the environmental pollution, and the third, WAS governance and capacity building, and the fourth, climate and disaster, and also the JETC responsive or inclusiveness, and the last one, the area of financing, it also is there. The proposed draft regulation, which is, as I said, is in the advanced stage of approval. The proposed regulation includes typology of 4 regulatory functions relevant to WAS services. The first one is tariff setting. The second, licensing of service provision. The third, enhancing WAS governance. And the fourth, increasing equity and inclusiveness. And other provisions in the regulation is about the equity and inclusion and monitoring and regulation. As per the drafted or proposed regulation, inspectors are to be nominated or selected by the ministry for the monitoring, supervision, and regulation of the standard. And similarly, it has been proposed that the ministry may establish one monitoring unit. And also there is a provision of planning and coordination, and also service standards and quality things are also there. And also grievance handling things are also well mentioned in the proposed things. We are expecting the cabinet approval of the draft regulation by November, and tariff commission, because the facilities of the members and the TOR or the duties or the functions of the members of the commission is well specified in the drafted regulation. So we have to wait for the regulation to come up till the members are to be on board. So we are expecting that the tariff commission is also set up by November of this year. And service standards also well developed. And after that, we have a series We are planning a series of workshops to disseminate about the policy, regulation, the act. And the challenges we foresee in the days to come is because laws, regulations, and policies at various levels may overlap and contradict each other, making it quite challenging to enforce and implement WAS policies effectively. So not only the policies or the documents, but also there are multiple organizations in WAS activities, often with overlapping mandates. So this could be a challenge for us. So this might not always make us align or work together seamlessly. And the second challenge could be linking tariff to the service quality. And the third one is the establishment, rollout, and consolidation of regulatory system. And the fourth one, regulation capacity of sector, institutional, and professionals. For the successful implementation of WAS regulation, the capacity of the sector's institution as well as the professionals is very much required. So this is the thing. So finally, the fund for the rolling out the plan is also what we see as a challenge. The future areas of support for transformation is to create, the first one is to create a supportive climate for regulatory rollout, for sensitizing and confidence building for even for the high level political climate builders, for the closer to service decision makers, and also to the change carriers. And the second one is to build capacity to sustain the momentum. And this includes what I expect is hands-on training through twinning program, such as SPAN from Malaysia or Maniland of Philippines, or 2 utilities in each province. If there is such a twinning program, it will be better. And the third area could be national rollout of WAS Act and regulatory concepts, of conducting a number of workshops, dialogues, and consultation forums. And the fourth one could be development of working environment and compliance capacities. With this area could include deeper engagement of Generation 2 documents, developing second generation documents to support regulatory reforms and rollout, ensuring sanitation focus prevails, compliance protocols, etc.
Talk of the Town.